But there's one thing I have to mention, sort of talking about what's next, and the thing I would be very hyper aware of and paying attention to, and that is that SEO GEO is borrowing from SEO. Guess what GEO can't tap into? It's social media. It's the walled gardens. They cannot crawl those sites, right? So it is your last sort of non-GEO place. And
Hmm.
guess what? A lot of buyers are out there doing a lot of their shopping on social media. So I'm looking at this and going to my clients, I'm like, if you don't have a really solid content strategy that is addressing sentiment and
Yeah.
mention frequency that is tied to your ability to show up on social media, you got a problem.
Yeah, that's a great point. One certainly that the lead tail gang here is very focused on is in a world where all of the assumptions of kind of generic search or um, flat out Google AdWord powered search strategies are eroding. It's still coming back to having a genuine connection, being able to share useful information and get an actual signal back from a prospect in these walled gardens, right? And it is a surprising. I mean, years and years ago, um, I was a CMO and we were selling to mid-market finance CFOs, uh, controllers, etc. And we're like, we got to get into social media because it was, again, this was like a dozen years ago. And we're like, we got to find all the sites that CFOs go to, and we got to find all the groups that CFOs go through. Well, they went to ESPN, right? They went to wherever like you're there in your real life, right? They weren't like looking at themselves through their professional lens all the time. And so I think it's just I bring that story back only to underline what you said, which is a lot is going on in social media, particularly now, when there's so much going on in terms of I get the culture. There's so much cultural discussion on social media that you think, well, that's a channel for that. But it is where people are living and making and talking to others, having conversations like this, and on the Substacks, and making these decisions about their business as well. And so there's a little bit of baby and bathwater. It feels like sometimes they hear social and they think of 2008 sort of whatever 2012 social media, and it's where we're all living. So of course it's where we're also trying to solve some of the business problems that we've got to.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, how about where do you think we are on this transition, this SEO out in the rest of this, right? So one piece of advice is make sure you're triple clicking on your social search strategy and your social engagement strategy. But out here in the wild, where SEO stuff is information is getting sucked into GEO engines and SEO activity is turning into GEO activity. How far down the line do you think we are there? Is this imminent now? Is it being oversold? Is it a hair on fire problem? How high on people's list does this need to be?
Oh, there's an iceberg analogy in here. We're seeing it's much further along than people realize it is. And I think the one metric I would track obsessively if I were a CMO is, and by the way, you're going to track this metric using large language models, is what percentage of business users are investigating brands using large language models. And it's accelerating across this curve so quickly because it feels so familiar to the people. Give you a quick story. My wife is in medicine and has to write these grant proposals, and she was like, I need help creating this thing, and I'm like, well, why don't we use AI? She's like, no, the ethics of it. And finally one day I finally was like, look, let's just, and her mind was blown. She was like, oh my god, it took all this information and wrote this incredible content for me, and it's going to make my life easier because I'm going to write more grant proposals more quickly. And oh my god, I can't believe it. Well, that moment, she's a Luddite too. That moment's happening across the business world. Folks are, and by the way, their paradigm is search, right? So
Right.
what's happening is they're going, oh, my
Yeah.
paradigm is search. I heard about large language models. maybe I've gotten some help with content before, but I'm going to start doing research. By the way, deep research went from being a cheap ChatGPT Pro that cost $200 a month to being $20 a month to being free. And Gemini is offering, this is 2.5 advanced model, they're offering unlimited deep research. Okay. So what's going to happen is the moment people realize that they can get profoundly better data through the same paradigm, you're going to see this happen all at once. And the way I'm seeing, so that's sort of anecdotal. Let's talk about the objective data that's showing that this is happening on the market, which is we're seeing site traffic decrease driven by organic. And what we're seeing is that's getting replaced with direct traffic. And there is no better heuristic for an increase. So what's happening is what I'll call organic and direct inversion, which is that your direct traffic is higher than organic. Unless you're Apple, that's really unlikely.
How does that happen? Yeah.
Like, how does that happen? So if you're seeing that, your space is you're on the sort of bleeding edge, but it's going to be
you're at the
norm.
front of this. Yeah.
If you're seeing that, guess what? You've got GEO happening, and darn Skippy, you better make sure that your SEO site practices, your AI schemas, if you will, are effective. Yes.